Today I'm visiting Llanfrothen churchyard in Wales. In 1888 the churchyard was the site of a tense, unauthorised nighttime burial. It was an act of defiance that sparked a landmark legal case, launching the career of a politician who would lead Britain through the Great War and change the course of European and world history. The church used to be located by the sea. The sea's not here anymore, as an embankment was built near the town of Porthmadog, a couple of miles away from here. And one of the most famous features of the church is that it slopes towards where the sea used to be. And this may have been designed to allow tidal water to drain out of the church. I was expecting it to be very overgrown, but it's not bad actually. The church itself is owned and maintained by the Friends of Friendless Churches, but they don't own the churchyard. So I guess it does get overgrown here in the summer. Seems to be an old doorway here. David Williams, who died September 5th, 1900, at 85 years old. So I guess the sea must have come up right up to here, where this wall is just behind this wall. Probably actually higher during high tide then. You see there's some drainage channel here, which probably dates back to the time before the embankment. I'm expecting the church to be open, and it features a massive 15th century oak roof. It also contains fragments of a rare 15th century rood screen, and the floor is decorated with red and black quarry tiles. Okay, let's have a look inside. Pretty sure it's going to be open. Please be sure to close both doors to prevent sheep and birds from entering. Actually, it says we operate a program of controlled grazing, but need to prevent fouling by animals inside the church. That explains why the grass was not as overgrown as I was expecting. Wow. It's a little bit dark here. According to tradition, the church is built on a site founded in the late 6th century by Saint Rothan, one of the 7 sons of the legendary Gwanag. Most of the present church dates to the 13th century. It was re-roofed in the 15th century, and the south porch and the bell cots were probably added in the 17th century. The church was also restored in 1844. It's a little bit dark in here because it's overcast outside. You can clearly see the slope here. Some old gravestones by the door here. Robert Owen, 56, died 1759. You might have noticed that the colour of the slates headstones change from place to place. The slates that's been used on these headstones would have come from the Llanfrothen area nearby. In 1888, a young lawyer named David Lloyd George championed the rights of a non-conformist quarryman to be buried here next to his daughter. The case began when Robert Roberts, a quarryman and non-conformist, died in 1888. Before his death, he had requested to be buried next to his daughter in the parish churchyard. However, the local rector refused to allow the burial in the requested plot, and he even padlocked the gate of the churchyard. Lloyd George, acting as the family's solicitor, advised them to take a bold stand. On his instruction, the family and their supporters broke the locked gates of the churchyard, dug the grave in the desired plot, and conducted their own nonconformist service. The rector of the church sued the family for trespass and damages, and the case was initially heard in the Porthmadog County Court. Although the jury sided with the family, the judge found in favour of the rector. However, Lloyd George appealed the decision in the High Court, and he won the case. Publicity from the trial made Lloyd George a national hero in Wales, and it provided him with the momentum to win a seat in Parliament. At that time, only a few people had the right to vote, and Lloyd George won the parliamentary seat by less than 100 votes. By 1916, Lloyd George was the Prime Minister of Britain. And the grave of Roberts is over here. In fond remembrance of Roberts, the one who died April 23rd, 1888, at 51 years old. Also his wife, Gwen Roberts, and she died April 30th, 1915, at the age of 78. So this must be the grave of the daughter. In memory of Kate Roberts. It's quite hard to read, but she died in June 1884, at only 2 years old. Now you have to wonder if David Lloyd George would have been elected an MP had it not been for this case. So this case might have changed the course of history, as David Lloyd George was the Prime Minister of Britain during the First World War. I'm not the biggest fan of David Lloyd George, but he did do some good things, like introducing the old age pension. Lowry Lewis, who was buried October 17th, 1787, aged 75. Also the body of Griffith Job, who was buried November 17th, 1793, aged 73. John, son of Robert Ellis, who was buried at 5 months old in 1790, and Mary Jones, who died December 16th, 1813, aged 52 years, and also Robert Ellis, who died June 24th, 1832, at the age of 77. This one's unusual as it still has the paint on it. Morris Lloyd, Tin Llwyn Uchaf, the one who died July 2nd, 1882 at 77 years old. Also his bride Margaret Lloyd, the one who died March 25th, 1898 at 93 years old. Maybe it was repainted at a later date, maybe.